everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 7 of the Ahsoka series. So if you haven't seen that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, watch that, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from episode 7 of the Ahsoka series, it's Jon Jon Rico. Oh,
it's me.
No.
Yeah, we lost him again. You just can't seem to hang around for these.
I know, right? We need his in-depth analysis of these episodes. He was there.
Yeah,
well, actually, that leads perfectly into someone else that is, good friends with R2. 3PO. We got C-3PO in this episode right away, immediately. Was not expecting that. Super excited about that. I was, yeah. And we got mention of Leia, which is also awesome. I mean, what's so exciting for me, I guess, about that is, again, like I've been saying over and over again, that has been really cool about this is that we're now putting in characters from the original trilogy, and it's just making, this series and all of the series that are connected to this, Rebels and Clone Wars that were cartoons and stuff like that, it's making everything more connected. With the the main trilogy storyline, with the main storyline for Star Wars and everything like that. So it's really pulling everything together, and it was just I'm not gonna lie, I love seeing C-3PO. Who else I loved seeing was more Carson. I am all for it every time he shows up. Because he's just gonna be that common thread character in all of these series, and I really, it's one of those things where I'm going to, in every series, kind of hope that he's there, whether or not he's just hanging out, whether or not he has one thing to say to one of the main characters or something like that. I want to see him in everything, and so I'm really excited every chance we get to see him. And I mean, he's had a pretty big role in this series type of thing. He's always kind of been there assisting the main characters in the scenes that he's in type of thing. So he's not just this tiny character. He's, he is that common character that's kind of pulling not only this series, but, Mando and Book of Boba Fett and that all in together. So anyway, I could go on and on and on. There's so many things I want to talk about from this episode. Just there's so many things that happened, but so many small things that I definitely want to talk about. But before I get into that, Rico, what were some of your initial reactions to this episode?
Yeah, this was a really fun episode in my opinion. To me it just felt like the most Star Warsiest of the Star Wars TV shows that you can possibly get. Kind of like you brought up already with when you're bringing in characters like C-3PO and Leia, you're bringing in those you're tying threads to every single property now. So we have prequel tie-ins, we have animation tie-ins, now we have original trilogy tie-ins. So yeah, it really helps bring the whole universe of Star Wars together, and it's really really fun to watch at the end of the day. But yeah, I loved every second of this episode, but I especially loved those opening scenes in general. So it felt like a massive love letter to Star Wars overall. But these first two scenes in general, really, with Hera and the New Republic Council, I thought was really cool because one, there was good progression of her storyline because we haven't really seen much of her since the Ahsoka episode, where she goes to the War Between Worlds, and now she's gonna go answer to this council, and the way they bring in C-3PO actually made sense. It didn't just feel like this fan servicey moment to be like, hey, there's 3PO just for the member berries, but it actually makes sense because Leia should be but like someone they should be talking to in this situation, especially with her place in the New Republic at this point in the timeline. So and they actually use C-3PO in like an actual useful way, because in the sequel trilogy he's pretty much useless. So to kind of see him get to like kind of use some power here and be like, hey, well, no, this was actually sanctioned by Leia, so Hera's all good here, because they're like, okay, well, if Leia said it, then we're good. Which was kind of cool, like that Captain Dipshit guy that was on the council there, who just like I really like his character, because he's a good example of like how even people in the New Republic are still kind of blind to all like the whole fantasy aspect of Star Wars. The Jedi and the Purrgil and the Force and all that. It's not something that he's ever had to experience ever in his like rich life. So why would he ever like take it seriously? So but it was a great scene overall. I really like the back and forth that between him and Hera again. And then of course the next scene with the right after the credits, where Ahsoka is training on her ship, and she's doing it to old recordings of Clone Wars Anakin, which is another, we got to see Hayden Christensen again. So I thought I thought we were gonna see him one more time in the show, and we ended up we ended up getting it. So that was great. But I really liked how he names drops Grievous and Dooku and Oz Ventress from Clone Wars, which was actually a really cool name drop for me. So I really hope that we see online that they were like, people want to get like the live action Clone Wars series, and like I would do it just to see those kind of characters in live action for sure. But yeah, to just get the name drop for me was just really awesome. And on top of that, there's a lot of great action on after that. So yeah, really great episode.
Yeah. The guy that you have coined Captain Dipshit, he is like a 80s like bully or villain, like in one of those 80s like comedy movies or something like that. Like I feel like he's got to have his comeuppance. Like that's what I want, at least. That's I hope he gets comeuppance. Like I hope, like, Thrawn lands his ship like on top of the building he's in, or just like something random like that happens.
Yeah.
Or it freeze frames on his name in the end credits and it goes, did not survive the takeover, or something, like just something random that we have to see him get some kind of comeuppance, so that he go, you were right, all like Hera was right all along, type of thing. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
Yeah.
But anyway, you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick us off with big takeaways. There are so many things that I liked about this episode. I have a long list of things to talk about.
Yeah.
But just, there's so many really cool moments in this. And a big chunk of my moments kind of were all happening at the same time, that we had this battle, basically. And so there was all these little aspects of this that I really liked. The first thing I wanted to point out is, since Ahsoka has been back from the world between worlds, she is so smooth. Like, as far as, and I have so many different examples, but I mean, the very first one is when, they're in the debris field and stuff like that. And she starts like kind of joking around with Huyang, and he's like, freaking out. And normally, like at the beginning of the series, she would kind of be stressing out too, or would just be giving like very somber-ish kinds of answers. But she's starting to like, really be kind of not only hopeful, but like even joke kind of tone. So I really like, I really like that. But then also we have like multiple occasions like that come up when they actually get to the planet and stuff like that, where she is so smooth and it's awesome. First one is when she's exiting the ship while it's still flying, where they're being chased, and turns the landing gear into a ramp, and she just slides right down. The whole like that was awesome. But then she goes right into a battle with Baylan, and
great fight,
and I mean it looks very like effortless, I guess, for her, because I mean it goes right into like what you were saying, where she was training this whole kind of journey. She was taking a big chunk of that, and she was training again. And she kind of gives like a really cool line, or he goes, you can't win, and she goes, I don't have to. Huyang kind of distracts like the scene, basically like, kicks up a bunch of dirt with some shots and stuff like that, and she just kind of slides away. And then we get immediately into her kind of introduction to her group of friends again, the reunion.
Yeah.
And her introduction is just force pushing some people away, like just like a grand kind of entrance type of thing. I just think Ahsoka's character has just been so smooth, like in this episode, but just in general since she's gotten back from the World Between Worlds. And I really like how we have. It's not even a shift in character; it's just kind of a growth in character. And I really enjoyed that. Like every aspect of that, I really enjoyed. The next thing I had to say was I wrote it down, and I said this. What I always do is while I'm watching the episode, I just type a whole bunch of things out in my phone, and then I kind of try to narrow it down to a couple of things that I want to talk about. Obviously, I have more this time than most, but I put lightsaber haircut. So I was like, why is no one in the galaxy doing this? Like using a tiny lightsaber to kind of just give everybody haircuts? Because Ezra gets a lightsaber haircut from Shin. Like it was kind of perfect. He just kind of held his hair and it was just like, oh. But I it just made me think. I was like, not only is it funny, but also like that's the easiest way to get a haircut. Like I feel like any retired Jedi could just like become a lightsaber barber.
No one likes to smell a burnt hair though.
Yeah, but you know what? I would get over it. Like it's singeing the hair, clothes. Like I don't know. Anyway, I think it's a good business opportunity that is missed by every retired Jedi in the galaxy. Anyway, next thing is all of these episodes. Each episode has kind of given me more reasons to kind of appreciate Huyang. And this episode, I mean, gave me a couple of them, but the biggest one, or I guess the best one that I could point out, is his dialogue while he's flying the ship over top of the small battle. Because he just matter-of-factly says, well, they're all back together. Hope I survive long enough to see the outcome. Like, it was just kind of like a funny kind of like matter-of-fact, but it just was like his kind of comedic, like a small comedic break type of thing. Like, because for me, I kind of chuckled at that. Like, I just thought it was kind of funny. So last but not least, and probably my most important thing that I wanted to talk about, all of this stuff has been happening during this battle, is probably the most important is no matter what galaxy you're in, Stormtroopers' aim is still horrible. Like nobody got hit. Not a single person got hit. Not a single one of the snail turtle aliens got hit. Everyone was fine. Stormtroopers are all gone. Like they were still really bad. One thing on a serious note that I did have to mention is I don't know if if it was a theory online, but one thing that I was thinking about was because Thrawn was kind of being like kind of really quiet about why he wasn't sending out more troops and why like and how the numbers had dwindled, but it still looked like a lot of stormtroopers there and stuff like that. So I was like, did the sisters like reanimate like all of the stormtroopers? But like immediately when some of those stormtroopers were getting like killed for sure, some of them got killed for sure. Some of them got pushed really hard over, so they probably wouldn't have, done what the guy that Ahsoka ended up slicing when but we saw some of them actually get like shot like to the point where that would have happened. So I guess that theory my thought got proven wrong there. So those were all just regular people. Like I don't know. I'm confused. I mean, but they're at least not reanimated people, because then they would have exploded with the same way, like with the black mist. That's what I was looking for, black mist. But yeah, there are so many things that like I said, I could have gone longer, but I edited down my list. But Rico, what were some of your takeaways from this episode?
Yeah, so I want to talk about a few things here. The first one I want to talk about is obviously the showcase is more on Ahsoka here in this episode, maybe than most episodes in a show called Ahsoka, which is kind of surprising enough. A lot of people, this is basically Rebels season 5 essentially, and you have characters like Sabine and Hera being put into the forefront, and Ahsoka's had her moments, but especially these last few episodes, she's actually had a lot more to do, especially since she's come out of the World Between Worlds. But in this episode, like she really, like you said, she's on display here. She's smoothing the movements. She's confident in her fighting again. She's optimistic and playful and these life or death situations. like you said, that when she drops out of the ship, I love the little interaction between her and Huyang, where she's like, "Do you remember what happened last time?" He goes, "You messed up your timing." He goes, "Didn't I feel bad about that?" He goes, "Nope." And that was a pretty, like, so that's like the classic Ahsoka kind of dialogue banter that I'm kind of used to seeing from that character. So that was really cool to see. But there's a moment where when they first, I think I'm not sure if they're still in the Purgle's mouth yet, or if they're still outside in the graveyard hiding. But there's a moment where they're just on the ship, and Ezra and Sabine are on the turtle people's little vehicles, which were pretty cool looking vehicles. And that their homes that turned into like vehicles, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But they're in the middle of this conversation, and of course Sabine does the 1,000 yard stare, which is of course doing the force connection between her and Ahsoka. And I think that's a great connection to Empire Strikes Back, of course, when you have Luke and Darth Vader going having a connection at the end of the movie where he's calling out to Luke at the end after he gets saved. So I always think again you're throwing those parallels between Ahsoka and Anakin, and of course all we've had a few different force connection scenes, but I think that's probably the most prominent one that we're getting, because we're getting a lot of tie-ins to the original trilogy, especially nods from different scenes, of course. So that was really cool to see. I really like the way that we're kind of starting to see Sabine's abilities in the force start to pick up, like where she's starting to feel the connections and stuff. Like it all starts with the feeling, right? And that's what she got. So I thought that was really cool, and that kind of leads right into uh the whole them getting ambushed by Shinhati and the bandits. Also the bandits also like just as probably more useless than the stormtroopers. I feel like those guys are not very good at all. Like I don't know why Thrawn even told him to be worried about those guys. Like those guys aren't doing anything out there; they're just getting killed by everybody. But I really like the scene this interaction between Sabine and Ezra, where she's gonna give him back his lightsaber, of course. You're like, okay, that makes sense. Like he's gonna get his lightsaber because do some Jedi shit, right? And he's like, no, don't want it. Take it. Hold on, cheers. And he goes, no, please, like take it. No, go ahead, just go ahead. You can have it. The Force is my ally, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I actually really like that because he spent over 10 years away from home without a lightsaber and having to defend himself with just the Force. So I would imagine that he's done pretty well with staying in tune with the Force and becoming pretty powerful with it. And we see it in full display. Like he's just dodging people, he's using defense, and he's using the Force to push people on the walls. He's just one point where he gets like caught and he gets force pushed by Shin Hati into a wall, and then he goes, okay, I'm fine. But other than that, he holds his own pretty well, and even gets a little haircut, like you said. And even then, that his ability to force is so in tune that he can sense that stuff coming from behind.
Yeah.
And remember, at this point, he's Luke's age, so so it kind of makes sense that how long he's been training and how in tune he is with the Force. So I really do hope that we get to see him get back there, and maybe that would be a big shocker moment if we get to see Ezra and Luke meet for the first time at some point. So I'm really excited to see more of Ezra's abilities, because I think this is a really great showcase for Ezra in this episode, particularly. He's doing this great thing where he's humorous in these dire situations, but he also showcases that he's a badass as well. And I feel Amon Esfandi is really kind of nailing that part of the character. So especially because we get more of him in this episode compared to a little bit we got from last episode.
Yeah.
But last episode has wondering like, can you do it? This episode says yes, he can. So yeah, I love everything about his appearance in this episode. And one last thing is the Thrawn showcasing how strong of a character Thrawn can be as a villain. Again, he calm in his demeanor, great posture, of course. Never is losing his cool, but he does a great job of showcasing his ability to strategize and plan for his opponents accordingly. Um, I love the way that his kind of demeanor changes when he learns that Ahsoka is Anakin's student, because of course goes back to the book Thrawn Alliances, where he actually met Anakin, and he's actually knows that Anakin ends up becoming Vader, so he knows all the stuff about him, and so he takes all that into account into how Ahsoka is going to come attacking Thrawn and all them, and going to go for Sabine. So he plays all that into his advantage, and of course, and ends up revealing that his ultimate plan is to just throw off their time so they can get all their cargo out there and then just leave them high and dry here on this other galaxy. So it's a really great display of like his overall planning and his overall prowess as a villain. And man, I really can't wait to see what the bigger picture is going to be for a character like Thrawn.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it goes back to what you were saying. I think you said it last episode where he's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. Like he has a plan inside of a plan inside of a plan that even the people around him are questioning. Like what are you really like? What's going on? Why are we not sending more people? Or why are you telling them to retreat? Or what's going on? Type of thing. So
Right.
It's really cool to see that, and it's showing us very slowly that he is going to be a bigger villain. He's not just the villain of the series type of thing. It's showing us that it's going to take a lot to really outsmart this person, and it's going to take a big coordinated effort type of thing.
Yeah, and one thing I never mentioned earlier on when we were talking about the New Republic Council scene and all that, Carson brings up the events of Mandalore, so it actually establishes that this is all taking place right after season 3 of Mandalorian. So we actually know timeline wise where this is all taking place now within all the shows. So I think it's very interesting that like right after Gideon raid, now we still have to worry about this threat of Thrawn, and so yeah, it's this nice little pocket of Star Wars that we're dealing in right now that's totally untouched, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off predictions? I am so excited to kind of, think about what's coming next. I mean, sadly, the series is coming to an end, or I guess the season, hopefully, is coming
Oh,
to an
I
end,
think it's definitely gonna get more than one season for sure.
Let's hope. I think it would be awesome. But yeah, why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay, yeah. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about the same stuff. We both want to talk a little bit about Baylan for sure because he's such a fascinating character, and I thought this was another great display of Ray Stevenson's great performance of as his character. And I'm really excited that we're only getting one more episode with him in it. So there's a lot of things here. So of course, there's that scene where they find them, they get told to attack, and then Baylan's like, go ahead and do that. I'm not gonna go with you. But he leaves some last wisdom for Shin Hati before she starts the attack, and which was the impatience for victory will lead to what was it, like a determined like defeat, basically like yeah, for, like a certain defeat basically. And we basically see those words play out as in this fight because she becomes outnumbered by 3 Jedi, or two and a half Jedi, I would say. But there's another great kind of correlation or rhyming moment with other Star Wars, where Ahsoka reaches down and says like, I can help you. But usually in Star Wars we're usually seeing the bad guy reaching out to the good guys, like trying to seduce them back to the dark side. But we saw this kind of great moment where someone's trying to bring someone that's kind of lost in the dark and trying to bring them more back into the light. So I thought that was really cool. And it kind of makes me wonder if there's a little bit of conflict in Shin Hati after those, watching her master's final words kind of play out the way he just said, and then kind of seeing how Ahsoka was kind of willing to take her in. I'm curious to see how that's going to mess with her head later on, and if hopefully it's not the end for her at the end of the season, right? And obviously, right after the fight with Ahsoka, Baylan, he's gone, but we don't know what's going to happen to him. But I'm wondering, he's saying something's calling to him, right? And I'm thinking, is it the Bendu from Rebels, who is like this kind of gray, not light side, but not dark side force being, who had a big kind of he interacted mostly with Kanan Jarrus and taught him a lot about how to use the force through his blindness and stuff like that. And but he also has this really interesting scene with Thrawn when Thrawn invades Lothal, and he kind of tells Thrawn how he envisions his defeat. So I'm very curious if like when he disappeared, if he somehow went to this other galaxy, and now that Baylan, who seems to be more of this gray Jedi kind of a thing, like they don't say gray Jedi is a thing, but he's someone who's not dark but not necessarily light. I think that's an interesting kind of combination right there to see if that's a character that'd be calling to him, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, I really can't see what kind of reveals that the finale is going to bring to us.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that, and yeah, I mean, even more proof that Baylan's kind of more on the path of the gray is because that's the whole reason why he kind of pushed Shin away. He was like, I already see that your outcome is kind of on the Empire side type of thing. Like
Yeah.
go do that. Like I'm not gonna pull you to do what I
Go get
think.
the power you want. Yeah.
Right. Right. Something like you'll be successful with like what you want to do versus like he's basically saying I'm not gonna pull you along for what I think I'm doing. Like our motives don't align anymore, type of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, for my predictions, I put basically the same question I had at the end of last episode. Is like I'm so interested in what is calling out to him and what his motives are in general, because just like you were saying, he left Shin to do the battle. He could have easily helped out with that. He watched the whole damn thing. And then, he let Ahsoka get away super easily. Like he could have easily followed her down and it could have been 2 on 2.5 type of thing. But still kind of just, let it happen and turned away to go whatever he's doing. I really hope we do get kind of a resolve of what path he's on and to kind of figure that out, knowing that, we're sadly not going to have any more of this character.
Or at least the actor. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Moving forward. So I really hope that they did have kind of a resolve already built in to the season type of thing. Cause yeah, I'm very curious. Like there's a lot of things like we were saying this before, even we started, taping is there's so many things that I want to see still. I'm just hoping that the finale is like a good length. Not that any of these episodes have been short, but there's so many things that have to happen. There's so many things that have to happen that I want to see. I know there's going to be a lot of, teasers for something next or something like that, like what's going to happen next and stuff like that. So some things are not going to get fully resolved. But at the same time,
open threads.
Yeah.
Sure.
At the same time, there's very interesting. And one thing I completely forgot to bring up, Thrawn's cargo. Did you notice that? Thrawn's cargo is a lot of dead bodies.
Is it?
It's a lot of coffins.
I wasn't sure if they had specified what they were. They were definitely weirdly shaped, but I wasn't sure they were supposed to be coffins.
They straight up look like coffins. If they're not, then I mean, I feel like they're designed to look like that. I think he's bringing back the three sisters, or was it mothers?
The Great Mothers, yeah.
Great. I think he's bringing back the three Great Mothers to resurrect all of those people.
Possibly. You never know. Yeah, I want to see their magic on display a little more.
Yeah, undead army. Like he instantly has a built-in army. So like that's what it seems like. Like because what else would be so important to bring back that he couldn't just leave as soon as they got there, type of thing. Like they're taking all the time to put these all back onto the ship, type of thing. Like it's something super important. And with Thrawn having an undead army when he gets back into the main galaxy is a pretty important thing to have. Like immediately he's got a huge army to take over. So I was just thinking about that. Like it was just one of those things. I was like, are we? It kind of went into what I was thinking originally. Like all of his troops, like have they all been resurrected, type of thing? But obviously, the ones that are still there aren't, like the ones that were in this battle and stuff like that aren't yet. But yeah, those really do look like coffins. So like now I'm thinking like the reason they're waiting to load all this cargo is because this is his plan is to come back with all of these undead, like just stormtroopers, zombie stormtroopers.
It will be interesting to see if maybe Thrawn somehow did play a part in the sequel trilogies when the Emperor does end up returning, because obviously they were setting up the whole cloning stuff with Moff Gideon and all that before, so it's possible that technology could bleed through into whatever Thrawn brings back. Again, we don't how we're going to see Thrawn has to come back to our galaxy, or the original galaxy far away. But also like that also leads to how like Ahsoka and them will get back, if they're going to get back on that same hyperspace ring or whatever, what have you. And yeah, there's a lot of little loose threads there to kind of watch out for, like what's going to happen when Baylan has to run into Thrawn's forces, because now Thrawn is suspicious of Baylan too, right? So there's a lot. There's so much to look forward to in this finale.
There's so much happening. I cannot wait for the finale. It cannot get here soon enough. Like I want to see it, but at the same time, I don't want the season to end. Like I've been looking forward to every episode.
Yeah,
So
this has been amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the finale. But I guess there's nothing left to say except for that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 7? And how do you think we're going to tie everything up into a nice bow in next week's finale? There's so many unanswered little threads that need to be tied up. And what do you think the cargo actually is? What is Thrawn so concerned with making sure that he packs everything before they leave? So that, because I mean, it's all about time. It's all about time. So yeah. As always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.